Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Zainul Abidin and you are watching Geeks of IT, a series of video lectures on management information system. And this is the third lecture on management information system. In this lecture, we are going to discuss system development life cycle. System development life cycle, or SDLC, is an abbreviation of System Development Life Cycle. It is also called Software Development Process. A software development life cycle or software development process is a process that is used by the software industry to design, develop, and test high quality softwares. The main aim of any SDLC is to produce a high quality software that meets the customer expectations and it completes within time and budget deadline. What is SDLC? SDLC, or the software development life cycle, is actually a process that produces software with the highest quality and lowest cost and the shortest time possible. SDLC provides a well-structured flow of phases that helps an organization to quickly produce high-quality software which is well tested and ready for production use. The life cycle of SDLC defines a methodology that improves the quality of software and the overall development process. System development life cycle consists of different stages, and these stages are followed for any software development process. And the stages of system development life cycle are planning, defining, designing, building, testing, and deployment. And these are the stages that are followed for any software development project. We will discuss these stages in the following slides. The first stage of system development life cycle is the planning and requirement analysis phase. And the first activity of any system development life cycle is to find problems in current system, and to do that it get input from all stakeholders, including customers, salespeople, industry experts, and programmers. Learn the strengths and weaknesses of the current system with improvement as the goal. So the main activities that are performed at the planning stage of system development life cycles are the first thing that is performed in the planning stage is to gather the requirements. Second main activity of the planning stage is to conduct feasibility study in different areas like economical, operational, and technical areas. Economic feasibility, the cost benefit analysis is done, in which expected cost and benefits are evaluated. In operational feasibility is mainly concerned with issues like whether the system will be used if it is developed and implemented, and will the proposed system really benefit the organization. And in technical feasibility, it is checked that Issues that are taken into considerations and technical feasibility are whether the required technology is available or not, whether the required resources are available or not, and whether the required manpower like programmers, testers, and debuggers are available or not. And it is also checked that whether the software and hardware that will be used to develop the software is available or not. Uh, the third activity of the planning stage is planning for quality assurance and to identify the risk associated with the project. All these activities are performed in the first stage of the system development life cycles, and the outcome of technical feasibility study is to define the various technical approaches that can be followed to implement the project successfully with minimum risks. And shortly, you can say that in the first stage, the main activity that is performed is to gather the requirements from the users. And uh, uh, to gather the requirements, there are different approaches that are used. For example, conducting interviews with the customers, asking questions, and conducting a field survey, and requirements are gathered in that way. Second stage of system development life cycle is the defining requirements. The requirements collected at stage 1 are clearly defined and documented in stage 2 to get them approved from the customers or the market analyst, and this is done through SRS, Software Requirement Specification Document, that has all the product requirements that has to be designed and developed during project life cycle. Stage 3, defining the product architect. This is also called the designing stage. In this stage of system development life cycle, use SRS as input, and on the basis of the software requirement specification document, the product architect design best architecture of the product to be developed. Usually the product architects design more than one design approach and document that in DDS, design document specifications. The design document specification is then reviewed by all important stakeholders, and based on various parameters is risk assessment, product robustness, design modularity, budget and time constraints. The best design approach is selected for the product. A design approach clearly defines all the architectural modules of the product along with its communication and data flow representation with the external and third-party modules. If there is any third party or external module available, and modules are actually the components of the software. The internal design of all the modules of the proposed architecture should be clearly defined with the minute details and design document specifications. Fourth stage of system development life cycle is the building or developing the product. This stage is also called the build stage, and this stage is used to create what we want. At this stage, the actual development starts. It's important that every developer sticks to the agreed blueprints. Also, make sure you have proper guidelines in place about the code styles and practices. The programming code is generated as per DDS during this stage. If the design is performed in a detailed and organized manner, code generation can be accomplished without much hassle. And there are different high-level programming languages such as C, C++, Pascal, Java, and PHP, etc., which are used for coding. And the programming language is chosen with respect to the type of software being developed, whether it's a desktop application or whether it's an Android application or a web application. And on the basis of that, different programming languages are selected for developing a specific software. Stage 5 of the system development life cycle is the testing the product. It is also called the code test stage of system development life cycle. And in this stage, it is checked that whether we get what we want. In this stage, we test for defects and deficiencies. We fix those issues until the product meets the original specifications. In short, we want to verify if the code meets the defined requirements. And the testing activities are mostly involved in all the stages of system development life cycle. However, this stage refers to the testing only stage of the product, where product defects are reported, tracked, fixed, and retested until the product reaches the quality standards defined in the software requirement specification. Sixth stage of system development life cycle is the software deployment stage. And in this stage, it is let's start using what we got. The software that we built in the fifth stage of the system development life cycle is actually deployed. At this stage, the goal is to deploy the software to the production environment so users can start using the product. However, many organizations choose to move the product through different deployment environments, such as a testing or staging environment. And this allows any stakeholders to safely play with the product before releasing it to the market. Besides, this allows any final mistakes to be caught before releasing the product. And this is also called the user acceptance testing. Then, based on the feedback, the product may be released as it is or with suggested enhancement in the targeting market segment. After the product is released in the market, its maintenance is done for existing customer base. And this is also called extra stage of system development life cycle, and that is the maintenance stage of the software. And in this stage, it is checked to get closer to what we want. The plan almost never turns out perfect when it meets reality. Further, as conditions in the real world change, we need to update and advance the software to match the user requirements. System development lifecycle models. There are various software development lifecycle models defined and designed which are followed during the software development process, and these models are also referred to as software development process models. Each process model follows a series of steps unique to its type to ensure success in the process of software development. Following are the most important and popular system development lifecycle models followed in the industries. The first one that is mostly used is the waterfall model. This system development lifecycle model is the oldest and most straightforward software development lifecycle model. With this methodology, we finish one page and then start the next. Each page has its own mini plans and each page waterfalls into the next. The biggest drawback of this model is that small details left incomplete can hold up the entire process. The second system development life cycle that is mostly used uh, is the iterative model. This system development lifecycle model emphasizes repetitions. Developers create a version very quickly and for relatively little cost, then test and improve it through rapid and successive versions. And one big disadvantage here is that it can eat up resources fast if left unchecked. Uh, the third system development life cycle model is the spiral model. The most flexible of the system development life cycle model, the spiral model is similar to iterative model and its emphasizes on a repetition. The spiral model goes through the planning, design, build and test phases over and over with gradual improvements at each pass. Fourth model is the V-shaped model or the V model, an extension of the waterfall model. And this SDLC methodology test at each stage of development is with waterfall. This process can run into roadblocks. Uh, Big Bang model. This high-risk system development lifecycle models through most of its resources at development and works best for small projects. It lacks the thorough requirements definition stage uh, of the other methods. There are some other related methodologies